As love we rise up and claim our power, uplifting the world we see. As love we rise up and claim our power, creating authentic, all-inclusive peace. You guys are good. As love we rise up and claim our power, uplifting the world we see. As love we rise up and claim our power, creating authentic, all-inclusive peace. Yeah.
We're talking today about building our tomorrows today. Building our tomorrows today. If yesterday is a canceled check and tomorrow is a promissory note, then what is today and how will you use it? If I had a check and it's already been cashed and I go to the bank and I try and do something with it, the bank's not going to do anything with it. It's already been cashed, it's done, it's over with. And if I have an IOU from somebody, what am I going to do with it? Yes, I'm going to get it in the future. But the deal is the past doesn't exist anymore. And the future is only an idea. The only thing we have right now is the present moment. I mean, really, like, where is the past? Where's the past? And it's funny, there's some Native American tribes where they don't even use languaging of past and future. I don't remember which one it is, but there is one tribe that doesn't use languaging of past and future. It's a construct that we made up. Can you imagine trying to speak not in about the past or about the future? Yeah. But it's something that is very, I think, very important, because the past, which is gone, has built us to be where we are today. And the future is what we're creating today. And every word that I speak, everything that I say, is the creation of the future. So many people think the past is happening now. Like, I heard this story, I don't remember, I think it was Mary Morrissey. I don't remember who said it, but she was talking about a client that she had, and they were talking about their mother-in-law. And they were getting very upset talking about their mother-in-law. Now, the mother-in-law had passed. And so Mary Morrissey, I believe this is from her, so okay, universe, if I'm wrong, sorry. But Mary Morrissey was like, so where's your mother-in-law now? And they're like, oh, well, she's passed. And they're like, she's still in you. She's still present because you're bringing those emotions to the present. They're gone. Whatever happened is gone, but you're still bringing it to the present. And I'm going to tie in Brené Brown's book, Rising Strong, because what I love about this book, and we have a few more left to sell if you want to buy them. It's only $20. What she does is she creates an avenue for when something happens to have it expressed fully in that moment and come to a healthy realization so that the past doesn't keep hanging out with you. It's a beautiful, beautiful technique, and it's so brilliant. I think I'm going to read this book like 16 times because I really want to get the depth of how to do this. And I'll show you an example today of what came through to me. But before we go on to that, I saw this amazing video that really is important about being present in the moment and about creating our future. And so I'd like to go ahead and play the video.
So my question to you today is, what do you practice every day? What do you practice? Because what you practice, you will get good at. What do you practice? Do you practice joy in your life? Do you practice peace in your life? Do you practice happiness in your life? Or do you practice a lot of complaining? Because if you complain, you will get very good at it. And you will get so good at it that you will find fault with everything. Even when there's no fault that a layman cannot see, you, being an expert, will see it. What do you practice? Do you practice anger? Because if you practice anger, you will get very good at it. And you will get so good at it that the most trivial you'll think. Trivial thing will make you angry. Like sitting in an airplane and watching the sea across from you somehow looks better than the one you've been given. And that is so unfair of the airlines. What do you practice? Do you practice being worried? Because if you practice being worried, you will get very good at it. And you will get so good at it that everything will worry you, including the buffalo you don't have. So I propose, if this is true that it's a question of practice, then I propose you practice joy.
Yeah, beautiful, huh? It is online, yeah, it's on YouTube.
So it's called Practice Joy, is that the title of the...
I don't. Yeah, just put what do you practice? What do you practice, and then YouTube it, and you'll see it. Yeah, what do you practice? Practice joy. Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that great? Isn't that some wisdom from our young light worker in the world? Young light worker in the world. So today is a gift. That's why we call it the present. Today is an absolute gift. And okay, we'll put it on our Facebook page, so you can look at the Center for Spiritual Living Peninsula Facebook page, and then you can share it with other people, and then you can get more likes for our Facebook page. Yes. So today is eternal. It's always today. It's always today. You always have the choice of what you're doing today in this moment now. The past is gone. It has flown away. And there's two things. There's what happened in the past, and then there's the stories about what we make up that happened in the past. So there's two things that happen, right? The thing that happened and the stories. But the stories that we tell ourselves can be changed. Well, the past can't be changed, but the stories that we tell ourselves about the past can be changed. Ernest Holmes says, when Jesus said that we should believe even before we receive, he was explaining the operation of mental law of cause and effects. If nothing is believed in it, then nothing is acted upon it. But since there's such a law, and since we're always believing something, the law will always be operating upon what we believe, in the way that we believe it. It is not that we're introducing a new law, but that we bring the law that we're always using under conscious control, whether it be for ourselves or somebody else. So that's the stories that we make up. The stories that we make up are what we believe about a situation and ourselves. This is where I bring in Brené Brown and a great story about what happened to me on the way up to Sister Spirit. In Rising Strong, Renee has this three-pronged process. And it says how the ability to reset transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. And the idea is that she wrote these other two books, Daring Greatly and The Gifts of Imperfection. And in The Gifts of Imperfection, it was about just be yourself. And then Daring Greatly was like, step into that thing that's scary and uncomfortable. But what happened is people were stepping into the thing that's scary and uncomfortable, and then they would fall. Like they went after that relationship and it didn't happen, or they went after this thing and it didn't, it didn't work out. And so she wrote this book about all of those things that you go after, or you try to be better or something and it doesn't work, or you're courageously stepping into being a healthy person and having healthy relationships, and yet something gets triggered inside of you. So this is like a process. Like, what do you do? How do you get out? How do you get your face is in the ground? Like, how do you get back up? And so she has a 3-step process that's called the reckoning, the rumble, and the revolution. And the reckoning is that you need to tell your story in order to understand it. So again, there's a thing that happened, and then there's a story, and the story is really what the universe is acting upon to create your future. Because you have this belief inside of you about who you are. But you need to tell the story. You can't let the story be hanging out, residing inside of you. And so it's digging deep and finding the language that describes your emotions of what you're going through in order to shine a light on it, in order to bring it outside of what's going on in here and put it out there. And often, like Vance was talking about writing, sometimes you need to write it down. Sometimes speaking it, just saying it out loud is good. Sometimes writing it down. But it's interesting, even writing down those emotions can bring that eureka moment. Like, oh, I didn't even realize that. And that's primarily retelling our stories in a way so we could see and identify what's going on is helping you see how your brain is trying to protect you. So the brain often goes whenever a person is triggered, the brain goes into protective mode. And I don't know about you, but my brain protective mode means that I cannot operate like a normal person anymore. I can't. And you just asked Gina. And what happens is that the brain tries to form things and it tells you lies. It tells you lies about what's going on. And you don't get to see what's really going on underneath what's happening unless you take that moment to understand, right? So there's the reckoning and then the rumble. So not only are you telling the story, but the rumble is about revisiting the story, challenging it, facing it, and reality checking it. So, for some of you who don't know, I have applied for another position at another community. So I had this, I would call it an audition, a few weeks ago at Seattle. It's not what it was, but they had me come and give a talk and a workshop, and the community evaluated me. And then the community was, the board and the search committee was supposed to meet and then give me the news, right? And so I'm on my way up to Sister Spirit, and I get a call from Kathy Ann Lewis while I'm in a no cell phone zone. Like I can't get, so I actually, half an hour later, I get a notice that I have a voicemail from Kathy Ann. So I listen to the voicemail, and the voicemail says, I just want you to know we're a hung jury. Good news, bad news. You know, half of the people want the other person and half of the people want you. And we can't figure it out. So it's great, but then it's not great at the same time. So maybe yes, maybe no. We don't know what to do. Sorry. Have fun at your retreat. Yeah, she didn't keep me in the dark. But then I'm going to this retreat. So we're literally, like, I called her back up, like, right away, and she didn't pick up. And then we were driving back, and I knew we were out of cell phone service. So I had to sit with this at this retreat. And so here I am, like, and I'm like, I know the color is melting away from my face, and I have Amy Steinberg in the car, and this woman can call me out on things. It's really annoying. But so she's like, oh, how are you feeling about that? And I'm like, I'm feeling fine, you know, totally lying. And she's like, So I started thinking about this Brene Brown process. And I wanted to recognize how I was feeling. So the process is when I feel, and then you have an emotion. So the emotion I was feeling was scared. I was feeling sad, worried, anxious. I was judging myself. I had given a talk that I intentionally gave as I want to say I'm edgy sometimes. Not all the time, but I'm edgy sometimes. But I gave a talk that was very edgy because I wanted to say, this is the edge of who I am. If you can accept my edge, you can accept all of me. But then I started judging myself, right? About, oh, maybe that, wasn't that a smart idea? And so I was feeling fear, and then I physically felt my heart was beating fast. So this is when I feel blank. I physically feel, this is part of her process. I physically feel my heart is beating fast. I'm noticing my face is probably losing color. I don't know if you know, but I can feel that feeling whenever the blood is leaving my face. And then she says, the story I'm telling is, now this is really key. So I'm making up a story. The story I'm telling is that I'm too edgy, that I'm not enough, that I'm not good enough. I'm making up a story. So I'm going through all this process in my head. That's the story I'm telling myself. And then my go-to thought process is to obsess and ruminate over it, which is really hard because I'm about to present this amazing, fabulous women's retreat. And then I'm like obsessively going over things in my head. And the first thing I wanted to do was cry, but then I'm also one who suppresses my crying. So then I wanted to put on a bravado, like I'm okay, but really I wasn't. And then the only thing I wanted to do was hide and not talk about it to anybody. So those were that's a step process. And so I just explained to you, that's kind of what you do is you go through and you identify, you're in the moment and you go through this process of what I'm feeling is. And again, there's more than one feeling. There's more feelings than happy, sad, or mad. So trying to identify the feelings that are not those three feelings. Like, how are you really feeling? The story you're telling yourself, noticing your physical body response, and what you want to do, and your first response, and then what you want to go to. And so this is kind of her process of so I just told you my rumble. And so then I needed to challenge it. Now, it was actually really beautiful that it came up before Sister Spirit, because Sister Spirit, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced in my life. There are so many women who, like Kathy Sharma became a minister because of Sister Spirit. Deanna credits getting her CDs out and having the courage to become a musician because of Sister Spirit. I mean, these women were telling me how this retreat has literally transformed their lives. And that story was there sitting in the back of me. I'm not enough. What I'm doing isn't worth anything. And to have the outer world reflect back at me was so what I needed, but so touching too, to realize that it's making an impact. And I got to the point of, and so I started getting to that self-examination and the introspection, and I cried. I totally cried. The first night I cried. My dream team prayed over me. They were like, you need some prayer, because you got to facilitate this 4-day retreat. But the ancient Greeks said that wisdom arises from suffering. And so it's okay to get into that spot, as long as we're the point of me getting into that spot was to come through it and to not hide in it. Was to and this is the rising above. And the revolution is where you transform your beliefs and ideas. So there was the reckoning where I had the story, the rumble where I had to identify all of those uncomfortable things that I didn't want to admit to. And then the revolution is where you transform your beliefs and ideas. And where I'm not a victim, or I don't feel like I'm not good enough, and I start evolving into, that I'm being vulnerable, and that I need to cry, and I need to feel where I'm going, and then I got to the point of, it really helped to have such great testimonials and stuff happen at the retreat, but I got to the point of, I really know who I am. And I really believe that I'm doing good work in this world.
Yes, you are.
And if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. And it has nothing to do with me, because I'm doing my work. Yeah. Yeah. And I was really grateful. I was really grateful to be able to just be in that state of realization, of really feeling my power. Rise up and reclaim our power was our theme. And I was like reclaiming, I know, I was like, oh, let me just be in the theme of Sister Spirit. But it really helped me a lot getting into that process. So I fell because I went into that rat hole, but I got up and I reckoned with myself, and I had a revolution of who I truly am. And that's really what this is all about. And I truly believe that Brene Brown is onto something really good. I'm going to study her work so much more, because I feel like I was taught, and I'm not going to like blame things on my parents or anything. I just feel like the society I was growing up with was a emotionally fearing society. And I was a very emotional kid. I was, my mom called me hot-headed. So I'd get angry, and I'd be really happy, and I'd be really joyful, and I'd be really upset, and just like very present with my emotions. And somewhere when I was a child, that stopped, and I didn't even cry until I entered into a Center for Spiritual Living whenever I was 21. So I think there was good like 10, 12 years of me not ever touching my emotions. And I'm still learning how to do that, but now I'm realizing how I can catapult those emotions into embracing myself more fully. So I want you to really think about how you can do that in your own life. And recognize that you're at choice in this moment, and you get to practice for your future. And whatever you're practicing in this moment is what you're creating for your future. And it's okay to be in that space of reckoning, of reckoning and rumble, as long as that's here to process so you can get to the revolution. And I want to encourage you to think about how you can be in this world. And it was like that phone call, honestly, like Deanna's song, it had nothing to do with me. It didn't have anything to do with me, but how did I take it? What did I do with it? That's kind of how the outside world is. All these things happen, life happens, it's completely a neutral event, and then we choose to imbue stories upon everything, to decide what it means. And getting to the point of allowing that story to be a story that benefits you is really what I think life is about. It benefits you and other people, because that's whenever the universe is creating upon that belief system. And so I can firmly stand in who I am and love who I am and allow myself to be in that place when I'm in that place, but then I know that I'm just continually building myself up. So I want to encourage you to look at where you are and how you can be a better person in the world by reevaluating yourself and your stories and seeing how you can utilize those stories to the benefit of yourself and to humankind. And that's where we're really going to keep going and create something amazing together. Because I believe that this is a world that we're creating that's healthy. And we're the ones who get to figure out how to be in a healthy world together. And I can say there's a lot of outside circumstances that look unhealthy, but the only way we can cure the unhealthiness in the world that's going on is by curing the unhealthiness that's inside of us and starting to reckon with what's going on in here instead of out there. So are you willing to try that on this week with me?
Totally.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And so it is. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, let's pray. Oh, I recognize and know that something is stirring and brewing inside of each and every person here, and especially inside of me. I recognize and know that that is the seed of truth that is awakening, that is blossoming, that is burgeoning within me. That I am a powerful being on this planet here to co-create a world that works for everyone. And I recognize and know that each person in this room, each person who hears us online, each person who is identifying that something is ready to transform. That we are here together in a united consciousness, uplifting and rising above. The old habits, the old behaviors, the past. I let that go. I release the past and I step into the embodiment of my new future. And I choose to create a world that is here to celebrate, to uplift, to see the divinity in each and every person I know. As I look into the eyes of every person I meet, I am greeted by that same seed of the divinity. That namaste is the joining and the communion between us. As we see each other, we know that there is something sacred and holy going on within our souls, within our bodies, within our minds. And so I recognize and know that that is transforming the planet as I speak. And I recognize and know that there is something even more powerful that is happening, that is guiding each and every one of us to that new awakening. Where I thought I wanted to go one direction and something is calling me another direction, I am pulled by that call to step into the greatest that the infinite has for me. And I know that the greatest that the infinite has for me is the greatest that the infinite has for we. As we are here connected, tuned in, tapped in to that divinity. And so I open myself up to that journey. I welcome and know that it is blessed every single step of the way. I release this prayer knowing it's already done, that I don't need to figure it out, try and figure out how to create something new. I can just be me. And that is perfect and right, exactly as I am and exactly as I am not. As I know this for me, I know this for every person here. I surrender into that truth. I let it go and let it be. And so it is.